films being released this month, they're actually very highly anticipated films. The Criterion Collection announced the films that they're releasing in February of 2026. And the new titles that they're adding to the collection this year, include a film that is so relevant today, and also another Coen Brothers film. Plus, we have a lot of new 4K upgrades of films that are yet to be released in 4K, including one that is kind of related to technology. So let's go through the films that the Criterion Collection will be releasing in February. So I'm now on the website of the Criterion channel, and for February of 2026, we do not have a lot of new titles being put in the collection this month. Although these are probably some big titles that are probably a lot of people are probably excited for. Plus, we have a few 4K releases, as well as another Eclipse box set, which consists of the early musicals of Ernest Lubitsch, who is the same person that made films like Designed for Living and To Be or Not to Be. Well, for Criterion premieres, apparently they'll be releasing Kiyoshi Kurosawa's recent film Cloud, starring Masaki Suda, which I saw that earlier this year, and actually it's a great film. I mean, not only it's also a thrill, but surprisingly it's also a comedy as well too, because in the film it tackles on an online reseller that kind of has to pay his debts with a gang, which yeah, it's a problem. I mean, it's kind of on par with, let's say, with Kiyoshi Kurosawa's other films, being especially with the dialogue, where you kind of have very long conversations that kind of look kind of it's creepy at times, maybe. But I mean, it's probably a great film. I mean, yeah. But as we well, let's go through what films the Criterion Collection will be releasing in February, beginning with probably a film that a lot of people have been waiting to see, and it's still kind of relevant to today, which would be Sidney Lumet's Network, which has Ernest Borgnine, and it actually it has the infamous scene in the film where his character apparently does a rant on TV talking about the media, and it's telling lies, which, although I saw a bit of that scene, I haven't seen the film yet, but I mean, it's a film I actually kind of really want to see. Of course, with the current times of, let's say, with President Donald Trump, and this might be actually be the first time that the film is available on 4K, which we're about to go through now. And for anyone that doesn't know what the film talks about, here's what it talks about. In Network, this media satire, directed by Sidney Lumet from a brilliantly incisive script by Patty Chayefsky, is an excerpt of the corrupted soul of a corporate-dominated America, startling president in its anticipation of today's outrage-driven news cycle. At a struggling television network, ambitious executive Diana Christensen finds herself with a hit on her hands when distinguished newscaster Howard Beale, actually, that might have been Peter Finch, not Ernest Borgnine. I thought that was him in the film, but actually it's Peter Finch. Goes off script, transferring himself into a mad-as-hell prophet railing against the ills of modern society. But can she control the populist revolution that have unleashed on the airwaves? Gathering 4 Academy Oscars, including for Dunaway, Finch, and Chayefsky, this no-holds-barred new Hollywood classic remains as fiercely funny as unnervingly relevant. So it's also a comedy as well, too. I mean, of course, there's a lot of things that are kind of like that. I mean, you got Succession, as well as Oshinoko. And even Noah Baumbach's next film, Jay Kelly, which possibly might get a Criterion edition possibly soon, since they usually release some of his films. But I mean, but yeah, I mean, it does have that infamous scene in the film that's still mind-blowing to today. So let's see what's in the Criterion edition of Network. So it's available in 4K, and it has a new 4K digital restoration on compressed Marvel soundtrack. The film was presented with Dolby Vision HDR. It has an audio commentary featuring the person that made the film, Sidney Lumet, who actually passed away in the past few years, which then you also have a feature-length documentary about the person that wrote the film, Patty Chayefsky, by Matthew Neal called Collector Awards, which actually might be new for this release. Then you also have a 6-part documentary about the making of the film from 2006 by Lauren Bouzereau, the film's preview, which is for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay by writer and New York Times columnist Jamil Bully, new cover by Adam Maida. So there's at least one new special feature that kind of talks about the person that wrote the film, which, but other than that, it's mainly archival special features, but at least the film being finally available in 4K is actually, like for sure, a must watch. And then also it's should be also still be rewatched with the current times. And apparently for this edition of the film, apparently this is the 1,300th title in the Criterion Collection suite. So it kind of makes sense that when they get to like the new hundreds, they would probably release some like a very big title. Like when they got to 1,000, they released the Godzilla box set, which has all the films related to Godzilla in the Showa era. It'd be interesting if they released a box that contains all the Godzilla films in the Heisei area. I mean, probably. So now to the other new film that the Criterion Collection will be releasing in February, which is another film from Joel and Ethan Coen with The Man Who Wasn't There, starring Billy Bob Thornton. And this is probably like an underappreciated Coen Brothers film, which I didn't know about until like found out about the film that they're releasing this month. But let's find out what this film talks about. The Coen Brothers peer into the existential abyss of the atomic age in this coolly riveting, drolly profound noir thriller. In a performance of masterfully calibrated understatement, Billy Bob Thornton stars as disaffected barber in 1940s California, whose suspicion that his wife, the Professor McDermott, is cheating on him leads him down a crooked path of blackmail and murder. Using the expressionistic black and white and horrible poetry of classic noir with their own idiosyncratic feeling for sinister, surreal Americana, Joel and Ethan Coen craft an arresting vision of the cruelty of fate and the mystery of our place in the cosmos. But they're kind of having like shorter summaries for these new titles apparently being released this month. Let's find out what are the special features of the film. So it's a director-approved 4K UHD Blu-ray special edition. Includes a new 4K digital restoration, supervised and approved by the director of photography Roger Deakins, with 5.0 surround HD master audio soundtrack. Which, of course, Roger Deakins was like one of their cinematographers on their films. The film is presented in Dolby Vision HDR. It has an audio commentary featuring Joel and Ethan Coen and film star Bob Thornton, a new conversation between the Coen brothers and author Megan Abbott, an archival interview with the Deakins, a short making of documentary of the film, the film's deleted scenes, English subs for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay by Laura Lipman, new cover by Mark Aspinall. So, I mean, there is a new conversation between like Joel and Ethan Coen, but apparently, other than that, it's also mainly archival special features, which, I mean, to be fair, the Criterion edition of No Country for All Men had some new special features, but the rest of them were kind of like archival. But I mean, unless if the conversation is kind of very long, then this is probably a film worth watching. I'll probably watch it at some point. So now to like the 4K re-releases that are apparently going to be releasing in February. One of them is actually like can be considered as one of the greatest films of all time. That it also tackles on technology, which is kind of the main theme of the films that are made by the person that made this film, Jacques Tati. There be other films, including like My Uncle, Mr. Hilton's Holiday, Birthday, and also Parade. It's like probably you could say his probably most epic film that he made is Playtime, which apparently, while it was like had a higher budget, and apparently also it like kind of puts like Mr. Hello in an entirely different level. Apparently the film didn't do very well when it was first released, but then it got some appreciation apparently in like recent years, and apparently like when, of course, I mean like it does kind of have some questionable moments at times, but apparently it's kind of relevant talking about like technology. Is like, do you think we kind of need to do this technology or not? Which now of course this was already in the collection for a while, at least on Blu-ray at least. Which and It also did have, but then for a while it was out of print, and then like the only way you can get it is actually if you get like the Jacques Tati box set, which I think it also had the film being remastered in 4K, I think, or maybe just a new 2K remaster. But now for the first time, apparently the film is back standalone, but in 4K, which obviously the special features on this on this release is probably going to be the same, but it has a new 4K digital restoration, but it has a lot of like great special features that kind of go into like the production of the film. Which, fun fact, this film was actually made in 70mm, which kind of also contributes to the cost of the film. And apparently, after Jacques Tati made the film, apparently he ended up having to sell his home because of doing very well. But I mean, yeah. It also has like an audio comment, like introduction by Terry Jones, which was probably included in like probably the past release of the film. The audio comment, such as scene commentaries. Yeah. Commentaries on the film, visual essay on the film, various archival materials, a few interviews, and also the film also available in English. And yeah, so I mean, like, if you actually haven't seen the film yet and want to see it in 4K, go get this edition. And then for like for the rest of the 4K upgrades this month, apparently there are only 2 others, which one of them include, well, famous John Cassavetes from A Woman Under the Influence, starring his frequent collaborator, General Rollins, who of course recently passed away last year. But of course, this film, of course, probably one of John Cassavetes' famous films, and also maybe like General Rollins' great performances, which apparently, well, fellow Canadian and Orphan Black star Tatiana Maslany apparently somehow got probably influenced by that film, which she mentioned that when she was being interviewed with George Stephanopoulos on George Stephanopoulos Tonight, somewhere in the past decade. And of course, Tatiana Maslany, of course, would later get an Emmy Award for Orphan Black, which, of course, she kind of has some inspiration from that film, I can see. Which, of course, this one was, it might have been included on the John Cassavetes box set, but apparently this also got a standalone. So apparently, but for the first time, this apparently is a 4K Oh, okay, that's a bit unusual. Actually, this is not actually being re-released in 4K. This might actually be getting just a standalone release because it was originally available in the John Cassavetes box set. Oh, I think it did get a standalone release, which let me just check what's on the John Cassavetes box to see if it has that. Which it was on the John Cassavetes box, but so this might be like maybe a re-release of a re-release where it might have had some things. For the last 4K re-release that apparently this happened is actually classic western 310 Yuma, which first would later be remade in like in the 2000s, and it had like I think Christian Bale and Russell Crowe in this one. Well, in the original it has like Glenn Ford in it. And so for this one, this just has a new 4K digital restoration, but the special features are probably going to be the same for this release, which involves interviews with person that wrote the book that inspired the film, Elmore Leonard, Glenn Ford's son, and biographer Peter Ford. And with that, apparently, as all the films of the Criterion Collection will be releasing in February 2026, which, well, they have a lot of like big new titles apparently added to the collection. They don't have a lot of new special features, but I mean, at least some. Or probably like a lot of people are probably gonna be excited for these new releases, finally getting 4Ks for the first time. And plus you also got a few 4K upgrades of Jacques Tati's PlayTime, 310 to Yuma, and also a re-release of John Cassavetes' A Woman Under Influence. But to kind of add to one of the films that apparently were announced last month, which would be John Huston's The Dead. Apparently, that film is kind of might be actually available right now on the Criterion channels. It's part of a little like a collection of like films that involves like family gatherings, and I've seen a few seconds of that film. Apparently, it's does look like an interesting film to watch. I'll probably, which actually goes with the great news that that Criterion edition will also be available on the Criterion channel, so I can probably give that a watch. But they're somewhere maybe next month, or maybe this month. At least, yeah. But what are your thoughts on like the films that the Criterion Collection will be releasing in like February of 2026? Well, you can put your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this going through of what films the Criterion Collection will be releasing in February of 2026, you can like this video and subscribe to my channel where we'll probably talk more about film and things related to the Criterion Collection. But with that, I'll see you later. Bye, everyone.